I often wonder when I bring friends up here on a walk to just what they think when they stand here and look down over the Domaine de Crome. I mean, it's obviously a beautiful property and a magnificent view, but are they just seeing the big expanse of mud clods in front of them and nothing more? For the past 5 years when I come up here, all I see is a vineyard. This piece of land that you see here in front of you will be planted on Tuesday in vines again for the first time in well over 70 years. It's a piece of land that on the land plats is called the Clos du Chateau. And there's not much left of the wall that enclosed the Clos du Chateau. There's a bit, and it's noble work. But we know that there was a vineyard here at least back into the late 1600s, the time of Louis XIV. This is a hill that the locals call the Mont d'Eau. This is a water mountain. And there are no wells in this part of the world, but there are springs. And there are springs coming from the hill behind me that fed down into the courtyard at Crome that you see below. As a matter of fact, when we were preparing this vineyard, we dug up the old hydraulic system. It was a big cistern here at the top of the hill with a hand-hewn stone trough that ran dead straight down into the courtyard below, where you can sort of tell this, you can make out the shape of the courtyard. When we first arrived here at Crome, this was not a tidy field as you see today. This was like a low, scrubby woods. And the locals told us that there had been vineyards planted here, but we didn't see any sign of it. As a matter of fact, we couldn't get in. I can remember coming with David Miley down this path here from up above, and we hit here, and there were the neighbors' vines, but this was all just impenetrable scrub. You couldn't see the property. You couldn't see beyond here. So there was nothing else. So we knew that we wanted to get in there. So we went down below and found a little stone stair that came up from the street, from the road, into this parcel up here. And the locals had cut a path through to be able to get up and cross this piece of land in order to go and work the vines beyond. And it was that way that we were able to first see the remnants of what had been a vineyard before. We knew that if we found remnants of a vineyard, that there was a really good chance that the land was still classified as in Appellation Bourgogne, but we just couldn't get in. So when we finally found some stakes and some wires, but we found no vines at all. So I hope you forgive me if I'm feeling a little bit sentimental this evening, as we're looking forward to Tuesday and the beginning of the next phase of this project, the plantation. Tell you a little bit about what this place was before it started to look like just a big expanse of earth. This that you're looking at right now is about 7.5 acres of once and future vineyard. And as I said, it was an impenetrable brush, shrubby little wood that had to be completely ripped out, burned, and then, of course, the roots were a big problem because you can't plant a vineyard on rotting vegetation that it just won't take. So there were several passages, deep plowing with the tractors, and we found ourselves with a situation that the original hydraulic system that fed the property in the courtyard that I was telling you about earlier had been blocked up here because they didn't want the water going into the courtyard anymore. So it was blocked here, but what was happening then, it was just running out, the springs were running out on the surface of the land. So it was sort of like rivers running through this piece of land and down to the main road. So we had to, I guess if you see this here, where the plowed part ends and there's a pathway there, that has all been dug out and filled with rocks. So the springs that are coming off the hillside from the left, which used to feed the basin to the right in the plowed land, is now being caught in this drain of rocks, and it's kind of running right at me under my feet and then down through the orchard to a stream that cuts through this field across the way. And so it now goes down into the property, and we can use it to feed, to do watering in the vegetable gardens. But this has been 5 years. It's been 2 cover crops. I can't begin to tell you how many times the tractor's been through here. We had a power line that went through the middle of this, which we had to negotiate with the EDF, with the power company, to remove in order to make it work. We uncovered the hydraulic system from the 17th century and invited all the archaeologists and historians over to take pictures before it was covered up once again for posterity. And now it's been sitting fallow for several years. We're expecting that anything that we put on here right now is just going to explode out of the earth, and we're going to have a very successful plantation. So, rendezvous back here on Tuesday morning, and we'll follow what's going to happen there.